Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. If you've watched this channel for any period of time, you're likely aware of some of the central themes that you'll see here that admittedly are the biased lens through which I see the world when I discuss just about any issue. Whether I'm discussing right to repair, whether I'm discussing my local New York City politicians, or anything else, it comes down to a desire to be free of other people's tyrannical control. I don't want somebody else being able to tell me what it is I can do with what I buy. I don't want somebody else being able to tell me they're the only one that's allowed to deal with my data or fix my device or anything else. I believe you should be able to choose who fixes your device. I believe you should be able to choose what it is that you do with your life. And as Daniel Smullen says in the Discord, the right to privacy and the right to repair are birds of a feather in a battle against corporate control. We must demand better. And he is talking about a particular piece of legislation that is going to be being proposed. And I wanted to talk about it here. Now, I know this is probably going to surprise you, but even though it's 2022, if somebody were to propose an act called the Protect the Children Act, and a politician were to oppose it, there's still a good number of people in the United States that would think that that politician does not believe in protecting children because he voted against the Protect the Children Act. Most of you at this point in time, if you're watching this channel, you're likely somewhat skeptical on things like this, and you probably want to read the Protect the Children Act to see what's in it, because 99% of it probably has nothing to do with protecting children and a lot to do with screwing you over. And that is kind of the case with what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be talking about the Uniform Personal Data Protection Act. And the reason that I want to talk about this is because I know there's probably going to be a couple of people out there that wonder when they see that somebody is talking against it or a politician opposes it, they may actually believe that politician opposes protecting their data and protecting their privacy. Why is that? And I want to read a critique of this so that you can kind of understand why it is that that is actually the logical thing to do. This has nothing to do with protecting your personal data. It has everything to do with making it seem like your personal data is being protected by legislators, when in reality it is anything but. So I'm going to read this piece from Daniel Solov. He is very, very knowledgeable when it comes to privacy, and we will go from there. So it says, in 2021, the Uniform Law Commission finalized its Uniform Personal Data Protection Act, a model law intended to be a guide to states seeking to enact broad privacy laws. Unfortunately, the ULC's law is beyond disappointing. Quite frankly, the UPDPA is quite terrible. No state should adopt it in whole or in part. It is hard to find anything to salvage in this. It's a law as clunky as its acronym. I find it shocking that the ULC could propose such an awful law. It is sad to say, quite shameful. The UPDPA is quite spare and loose. The heart of the law is basically as follows. Companies can use personal data without people's consent as long as there is a compatible data practice, and if the event of an incompatible data practice, companies only need to provide a chance to opt out. The ULC has cooked up a broth that is so insubstantial, so thin and fetid, that it is hardly any different from bilge water. One might think I'm exaggerating for dramatic effect, but if you look at the law, you'll see that my comments are far from rhetorical flourishes, but are quite restrained. More specifically, Section 7A provides, a controller or processor may engage in a compatible data practice without the data subject's consent. A controller or processor engages in a compatible data practice if the processing is consistent with the ordinary expectations of data subjects or is likely to benefit data subjects substantially. Now, this is just going to be my commentary. This is not him in the article. But let's just talk about, well, I've read this somewhere else. I forget where, but it'll come to me soon. Hope somebody in the comments will probably remember it immediately. A compatible data practice could be seen if you want to know where restaurants are in your area. Maybe they think a compatible data practice is, I don't know, just tracking where you're going while you're going to the restaurant in that area. You may not think that that's a compatible data practice, but the company does. And this bill leaves it up to the company to define what a compatible data practice is. Would we be looking for this type of legislation if you trusted Google, if you trusted Facebook, if you trusted Amazon? Probably not. The entire reason for something like this is because you don't trust them. Yet this legislation really does leave the ball in their court to come up with what a compatible data practice is and whether or not they even need to contact you when they're doing these things. Now, back to the article. The provision is so vague that it permits companies to do nearly anything. Even data practices that are not expected by people are fine if a company deems them, quote, likely to benefit data subjects substantially. Every company thinks that what it does provides a benefit, makes the world a better place. One example of this, when YouTube censors videos because they're on the wrong side of the political aisle or they're on the wrong side of a hot button issue. That's being done for your own good. That's being done to benefit you so that you don't wind up getting poisoned by misinformation. We're doing that for your benefit. And I hopefully somebody can tell me who this quote is from. This is another thing that's really driving me nuts that my memory is just not doing it today. But it was something along the lines of, I prefer people that just hate me, that want to torture me, because at least at some point they know that what they're doing is evil, so at some point they will stop torturing me. The people who will never stop torturing me are the people who actually believe they're doing it for my benefit. They will not even stop to think, maybe I should stop torturing this person, because they don't see it as torture. But yeah, there's every one of these companies, as he says, thinks that what they do provides a benefit and makes the world a better place. And sometimes they don't, but they have to tell themselves that so that they could sleep at night, which means they'll never stop. It's hard to imagine how anybody could fail to cook up a rationale for nearly any data use that wouldn't somehow constitute a compatible practice. This is quite bad, but the UPDPA gets even worse. Section 8b provides, a controller may process personal data that does not include sensitive data using an incompatible data practice if at the time personal data is collected about a data subject, the controller provides the data subject with notice and information sufficient to allow the data subject to understand the nature of the incompatible data processing and a reasonable opportunity to withhold consent to the practice, aka a 900-page EULA that nobody reads. I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say. This shows up in every single comment section, and you're all liars and full of it. You're going to say, Lewis, I read the 900-page EULA to every single iOS update. Lewis, I read the 900-page EULA every time I install it. No, you don't! Stop lying! Stop lying! Stop virtue signaling. None of you do that. Stop. Just stop. No, you don't. Anyway, when companies use personal data for incompatible purposes, the UPDPA just requires an opportunity to opt out. This is the much maligned notice in choice approach, which has been savagely criticized for decades. Modern laws have been moving away from the notice in choice approach, and even those that adopt it at least make some attempt to rein it in or make it less noxious. The law is essentially allowing the fox to guard the henhouse and telling the fox to eat only chickens when compatible with its appetite. The UPDPA provides the barest of rights, mainly access and correction. Although I have been critical of rights as insufficient to protect privacy, the solution isn't to omit most rights that other laws provide. When it comes to obligations on data controllers, the UPDPA also barely requires anything, just a risk assessment that remains confidential. This is paperwork that nobody will see, with no standards and no consequences. Most laws impose quite a few duties on data controllers, but the UPDPA asks hardly anything from data controllers. The law is not really a privacy protection law, but a pathetic attempt to legitimize nearly unfettered collection and use of personal data with hardly any responsibilities and zero accountability. Further adding to that, if you actually read what they said when they were coming up with this, and I quote, between the first and second draft, we took a very different tack. Perlman said, we thought if we could lower the compliance costs and there would be more compliance and in a way expand that to a broader segment of the business community without incurring too much objection and therefore provide consumers with in total more protection. AKA, if we can make it cheaper and easier for people to comply by completely watering this down to the point where it doesn't do anything, maybe more people will comply with a piece of legislation that doesn't actually do anything. God bless America. Continuing. The modern way to define personal data is based on the EU's General Data Protection Regulation as identified or identifiable information, but the UPDPA only focuses on data that directly identifies individuals, even when so much data can readily be linked to a person. The vast majority of the approximately 150 comprehensive privacy laws worldwide adopt definitions akin to the GDPR, as do recent US state privacy laws. Of course, it's no big surprise that the UPDPA lacks a private right of action. That means that if a company does something screwy with your data, you can actually sue the company. You're not forced to go through the the Attorney General in your area. That was something that had to be worked out with the right to repair bills so that they would not clog up the legislature. To not clog up the Attorney General, and has minimal enforcement. But it doesn't matter, as there's hardly anything in this law to enforce. The UPDPA doesn't push the law forward. It's hard to find anything in the law to advance the ball even an inch. This law does more to hurt privacy than to help it. The law basically tells businesses to do whatever they want with hardly any restrictions. And if businesses are somehow so ridiculously out of line that they contravene the law, there are hardly any consequences. The UPDPA is not an attempt at compromise between industry and consumer protection advocates. It's not even a good attempt to pander to industry, because many companies have proposed laws far more privacy protective than the UPDPA. Perhaps the UPDPA is an attempt to pander to a very small and shrinking segment of industry that wants to imagine a world 50 years ago and forget about the GDPR, the explosion of privacy laws worldwide, and the emerging new privacy laws in the US. The UPDPA is an exercise in denialism. I struggle to see what the purpose of the UPDPA is. It certainly won't gain any respect among any commentators beyond the most stalwart pro-industry types. It won't gain any respect from the EU as it doubles down on so many things that are derided about the US approach to privacy. It won't gain the respect of other countries. It is weaker than the state laws being passed now and weaker than most other privacy laws on the books. It won't help consumers or address concerns animating the wave of privacy legislation right now. Doing nothing is better than enacting the UPDPA. I thus wonder what the point of the UPDPA is, really. In contrast to the ULC effort, the American Law Institute engaged in a similar effort to guide privacy legislation, the Principles of Law Data Privacy. I was a reporter on the project along with Professor Paul Schwartz from Berkeley Law. Our process was an extensive 7-year effort involving a diverse group of thought leaders, academics, in-house counsel, law firm, attorney, and judges. Industry perspectives were well represented, as were academic ones from a variety of viewpoints. We reached a reasonable consensus. There are many aspects of our ALI project that I personally might have written differently were I king, but our goal was to forge a good compromise. We proposed approaches that aimed to push the law forward and that a wide range of stakeholders could live with. For more background on the ALI data privacy principles I wrote a short essay with Paul about it here. Unfortunately, the ULC effort seems to have not to have attempted to reach any kind of compromise and appears to have excluded a diverse range of viewpoints. Hopefully, state legislatures will see the flaws in the UPDPA and ignore it. There's a clear call from the public for meaningful privacy protections. Passing a hollow law might placate people for a few years until they realize they've been had, and then the call for stronger privacy laws will continue. The UPDPA is obsolete on arrival, not only using antiquated approaches, but also even watering them down. The ULC should scrap the UPDPA and start over from scratch. State legislatures should avoid the UPDPA in entirety. My goal with this video is that if you see that your local legislator says, this is junk, I don't want you to believe that that local legislator doesn't value your privacy. Any legislator that reads through this act and throws it away is a legislator that actually does value your privacy, even if they are voting against or pushing out a uniform Personal Data Protection Act. Because this, in my opinion, is absolute garbage, and seemingly, in Daniel Solov's opinion, who's far more knowledgeable about this than I am, is also absolute garbage. And I do agree with Daniel Smullen in the Discord. He is a resident privacy expert, and he's also helped me a bit with my site, and also with Repair.wiki, that, these really are birds in a feather in a fight against corporate control, whether we are talking about who fixes your device or people tracking you using your data. The idea that if you just want to see a restaurant around you, that it could be considered a compatible use case to track where you're walking as you walk around after you go to the restaurant, that's what this allows. That's the world that we currently live in. And that's the world that I think we need to move away from, because if there's anything we've been learning over the past several years, it's just Google, Facebook, Amazon. These are not people that I think we want to trust with all of our personally identifiable information. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.